This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Yeah.
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Yeah.
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Yeah.
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing.
In fact, it just had such a powerful message. We had a lovely conversation with, oh my God, why am I forgetting his name now? Young man, remind me, last week. It seems like so many days have passed on. Oh man, why am I forgetting? Lorna, who was in studio. Mbuso, cause when my mind wants to go Dogotela, because I keep wanting to call him a doctor. Mbuso Koza, and we had a lovely conversation. We were talking about Sjava and just the catalog of work that Sjava has created, in such a short span of time, and how it's come to represent a subculture and a subgenre in South African music. That is Umcebo. I hope you had a good weekend, a restful weekend. I had a good weekend in spite of the fact that it started a little bit abruptly. So shout out to the ladies for holding down the show on Thursday and Friday. That was not the intention to be off the show. But it seems as though the older we get, we're just talking about this with my team, that the older we get, the more we just get weird sicknesses that just come out of nowhere. You know, chiggy one day you just minding your own business and then you have allergic reactions, severe allergic reactions that come out of nowhere. So yeah, I don't know what it is, but there's just something about aging and your body starts working against you in so many irritating ways. We've got a lot of show planned out for today. We are going to be talking Deaf Awareness Month, no human rights without the sign language rights. And we're going to be joined in studio by 2 South African sign language interpreters. And then we're also going to be focusing on Suicide Awareness Month in conversation with Kim Vermaak, who's an author and speaker and mindset whisperer. And then on the other side of 2 o'clock, we're shifting gears a little bit and looking at Crypto 101, how it works and how to stay safe from scams. I'll let you know what else is coming up after 2, closer to the time. Our lines are open on 086 000 2032 and of course 061 410 4107 is our WhatsApp line. It is the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga.
Power, land, loyalty, blood. In the heart of Montana, the fight for the Dutton Ranch is far from over. Betrayals cut deep, enemies close in, and every choice could be their last. Yellowstone, Season 4, where family is everything and nothing is off limits. Every Tuesday, starting September 2nd at 7 p.m. only on S3. S3, open out.
This Heritage Month, SAFM invites you to journey into the past while shaping the future under the theme Reimagine Our Heritage Institutions for a New Era. We celebrate the stories, traditions, and voices that define who we are as a nation. From vibrant conversations to thought-provoking debates, SAFM is where heritage meets innovation, connecting generations and keeping our culture alive in a changing world. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Stannabank Joy of Jazz Festival presents 3 unforgettable days deep in the heart and art of jazz from the 26th, 27th and 28th of September. Omusangare, Ababemu, Jasmine Horn, Salent Ngor and Noisemakers, among so many others, including Michelle Ndengo Cello, Gabby Matumbi and over 40 world-class acts, will be ready to welcome you and yours to 4 magnificent stages at the Sandton Convention Center. Take me there. Buy your tickets now at Ticketmaster.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
Okay, let's get into the conversation. And our first conversations today, it is September, which is International Deaf Awareness Month, and in commemoration of the First World Congress of the World Federation of Deaf, which took place in September 1951. The 2025 theme is No Human Rights Without Sign Language Rights. And so we thought we'd reach out to SABC's South African Sign Language interpreters, Fortune Madlala and of course Umpo Deme, who are both joining us in studio. How are y'all doing, ladies?
We are good. We're doing well. Thank you so much for the invite.
Thank you for coming through. I know it's an awkward sit, and I think I almost want to cheat because I can't really see Fortune's eyes. I almost want to cheat and swing y'all a little bit more this way, just so that, yes, we can have eye-to-eye communication. There we go. Thank you so much for taking the time. So September is International Deaf Awareness Month, and both you ladies are South African Sign Language interpreters. Let's start by fact, Uti, both of you are not hearing impaired. We're just having a conversation now. How did you get into being a sign language interpreter? Where did the passion and the role for sign language come from? I'll start with Fortune.
Okay. With me, I don't come from a background where I've got deaf family members. So everyone at home is hearing. And I was in a very different industry where I was a diamond analyst. And that's when I met deaf people. Yeah. And I fell in love with the language and went to Wits University when I was studying my second year. And then boom, turned on the television. I'm saying, oh, this is what I'm actually studying. And I didn't even know there was a career behind it. Yeah. But it all started from the love of languages and having to meet deaf people and befriend them and knowing how cool the
Yes.
deaf community is.
I love that, how cool the community is. Because it's interesting. A lot of us probably would only ever learn to sign if there was a need in the family to communicate. So the fact that Fortune, for you, it was just the falling in love for language and deciding that actually you're going to make sign a focus. Paul, for you, how did you fall into this career?
Okay, thank you very much, Bridget, for the invite. For me, I was volunteering in one of the deaf organizations. It's called Deaf SA. And when I got to the organization, I had no idea that it's deaf people who are working there. So as soon as I started working and I realized, the people that I'm going to work with, I have to learn their language. And for me, that was an interesting part to say, okay, I'll start learning sign language. And that's when I started. And for me, because the young me, it was also interesting to get attention from, the hearing community, learning something that people do not know, they don't do. So at that time, it was more about attention and so on. Then later on, then I got the training and then I became the interpreter.
Yeah.
Yes.
How different is South African Sign Language, for instance, from, other sign languages internationally? And is it an easy language to pick up?
Well, every country has its own sign language. Like we're in South Africa, so we use South African Sign Language. You go to Zimbabwe, Zimbabwean Sign Language, American Sign Language, British Sign Language. But also when we gather as international communities, then we tend to use IS, which is International Sign.
Okay.
But learning sign language, for me, I would say it's like learning any other language. You can learn a language, but if you don't practice it, you're bound to lose the interest or maybe even the form of how to use that language.
Yeah.
For example, I used to know how to speak Spanish, but because I don't communicate with anyone in Spanish, and then the language just tends to die down.
Yeah.
So it's all about practice and the passion you have for it. I think that's the most important thing within the deaf community. If you have the passion and you know how to also engage yourself within the community, because you cannot say I'm learning sign language and then exclude yourself from the deaf community.
Yes.
Yeah, and just to add, with sign language, how you pick it up, I think it's different from spoken language, because remember with spoken language, you use different articulators. So with sign language, you learn the language, or you rather use the language by using your hands, your body, your face. So I wouldn't say it's difficult, but the modality is quite different, because when you learn any other language, you'd use your mouth, your tongue, and whatever that you need to learn those different articulators. Whereas with sign language, your hands, your joints, your bigger joints as in your arm and whatever, they have to be in sync. That's why you always encourage people to learn it at least at an earlier age, because when you are older, of course, the joints and everything are stiff. So that's the only difference that I can say between sign language and spoken language.
Interesting what you just said, Paul, because when I watch you ladies and other interpreters on telly, we can see the facial expressions, you can see the hands moving, and it almost seems like sign, there's a short text to sign, right? Because I watch it and I go, no, but he just said so much with that paragraph, and then Fortune just signed 1, 2, 3 things.
Okay, when it comes to that, just to add to what Mpoe said, with the spoken language, a word is formed with only 2 things, which is vowels and consonants.
Yes.
But in sign language, you need all 5 parameters, like how she has alluded to right now, to say you need your facial expression, because your face gives meaning to what you're saying. Whether you are angry, it gives the tone, and whether you are angry, happy, or sad. Then you need your location, your palm orientation, your movement, and what's the 5th one? Location, movement, palm orientation, and your spatial, your signing space, and the hand shape. So it's all the 5 parameters that forms one sign, instead of just only the 2 vowels that forms one word in sign language. That's the difference between the spoken word and the sign language. But also the structure is different.
Yeah.
We don't signed English or signed Afrikaans or signed Zulu. Sign language is just sign language by itself. It's standalone, and the structure is different, because I can say in English I'm going home, but in sign language it's home me go. So that's the difference, and that's why you may see. Also, when we're interpreting, there's this thing called lag time, because it depends also on individual when you interpreting, and then the time that you have to internalize and understand the message before you hold it out in sign language. I don't know if you want to.
It sounds so complicated. It sounds like it requires practice and a different kind of consciousness. And I was getting what you're saying, Fortune, about learning a new language. I tried to learn Portuguese many years ago because I go to Mozambique all the time. And I tried to learn it, and then I dropped out because I realized that I'm not immersed in Portuguese communities. I don't have a lot of Portuguese friends. I'm not speaking the language, and so I'm not practicing the language. And I feel like sign language has like a different level of what practicing and mastering it actually is. It's not just about learning ABC and how to sign it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always say to a layman who doesn't know sign language to say it's like driving a car. If you're learning how to drive, if you're not gonna practice every day, of course you're gonna lose your rhythm and whatever. But then I like what you're saying to say, even if you're learning other language like Spanish or whatever language, you have to practice, and the main point actually is also immersing yourself in the culture, immersing yourself in the community. Same applies with sign language, because deaf people are the minority group and they have their own culture and how things are being done. You really have to immerse yourself in the culture, because we can give you a sign now and say this is how you sign a word or whatever, but then you don't know contextual where, when, to who do you use those specific signs. So you cannot just learn a language in isolation.
Yeah, okay. I mean, there's a lot to consider, because language is such a complex thing, right? And even now, my producer was making a note about just the colloquialism, the lingo in the community, even how we use the phrase deaf impaired or hearing impaired, and that kind of, both of you just raised your eyebrow. Okay, school us.
Sometimes as people out there in the community, we use words which are derogative, but sometimes it's because of the lack of knowledge. Because when you look at the social model, to say a person is deaf, it's acceptable within the community.
Yeah.
But the minute you add the impairment part of it, that's a medical model, because it means that a person needs to be fixed. So like visually impaired, hearing impaired, wheelchair bound. If I'm in a wheelchair, I'm a wheelchair user, I'm not wheelchair bound. So those specific lingos and terminologies still need to be out there. And I know it's still widely used to say, oh no, I don't want to use some of them. So some of the words really is because of the lack of knowledge, and it's all about education.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because on the flip side, not knowing any better, like myself, you think that that's the more sensitized term. You think that's the more considerate term, because you almost feel like if I say someone is deaf, I'm being rude.
You can use hard of hearing.
Hard of hearing.
Yes.
Okay, or we just
acceptable.
keep it at a deaf person.
But remember, there are two groups. So, of course, within the community, there are different deafness in terms of the level. So we do have those who identify themselves as hard of hearing, which is fine to say hard of hearing, and those who are deaf. Even within the deafness, there are those who identify themselves with a big D, as in deaf. I am part of the community. I embrace my language. I love my language. I'm not embarrassed. When you see me as a person. Do not say I'm sorry or shame or whatever, because I am part of the community. Then we have deaf with a small letter D, who says maybe they lost their hearing later in life, they're not part of the community, they are using sign language and other modes of communication, which is also fine. So deaf and hard of hearing is okay, but the medical view of what Fortune just said now, to say once we say hearing impaired, all those terms, we are giving it the medical view to say you are impaired, therefore we have to fix. So language use and language attitude is also something that we have to be careful about to avoid ableist.
Yeah, and when you talk about the hearing impaired, those are mostly within the community, those who use assistive devices such as your hearing aids and your cochlear implants, because those who are profoundly deaf, those who were born deaf, are different from those who are deafened, or maybe those who are hard of hearing, who have a certain percentage of hearing, and then they would prefer whether to use certain modes of assistive devices such as your cochlear implant or your hearing aid.
A very fascinating conversation, especially from the perspective of our two guests. We're in studio with Fortune Madlala and Mpho Etema, both South African sign language interpreters, having studied the language and articulate themselves in the language, work with the language. You've seen them on your television. When we played that Java song to begin the conversation, by the way. Fortune was the one who interprets in that video. I'd never seen that video before. I had a whole different imagination of, and I play that song all the time, a whole different imagination of what the video might look like. But Fortune is in the video interpreting. And that's the other conversation, because, you know, I've had deaf folks on the show, on many other shows before. We spoke to Mia, Miss South Africa, when she won, about her life and her life experience. And music and how music is felt and articulated in deaf community is always an interesting conversation, right? Because till today, as much as it's been explained to me a few times, I still actually don't get how the vibration of music communicates itself to the individual.
Well, deaf people are part of the community at large.
Yeah.
And they enjoy music. Some of them dance better than we do as hearing people, honestly. And we also have deaf DJs.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to them feeling the vibration, there's this thing, it was called Sensity, I think. It used to happen way back, every 4 years, whereby we would gather and the DJ would be there, and you would feel, see, and taste music instead of listening to the actual words. But you feel the vibrations, and when the song changes to a certain beat, and then you would see different colors, and then it would have that scent where you see, taste, and feel music. So it's those kind of things which are kind of really interesting, but I don't see it happening right now. So
Yes.
it's something that used to happen. I entered it only once. So, but then within us as people as a whole, we also need to accept that deaf people are part of us. They do what we do, they enjoy what we enjoy, and so being included in music festivals, that's what we need to see more. I mean, it's happening in other countries where you see interpreters in rapping there, and they do, you know, and we're not yet there in South Africa, I understand, but, well, I love music, so, you know, it's one thing that we need to do. And yes, I would like to say big ups to Java, because when he called me, I was really like, oh, okay, yes, I'm into it. And because it's not only there's also another one, which is Peace Be With You.
Yes.
And it didn't only end there. Other artists such as Vender Boy, who's now going to be traveling from the 12th, from the 16th, he'll be traveling internationally. So he's also included sign language in music, lyric videos, because they also need. Music shares messages, and deaf people also need to know what's been shared in the music.
Absolutely. Let's take a quick pause here, and then we'll be right back on the other side of this as we continue having this conversation from a different perspective today. It is Deaf Awareness Month under the theme No Human Rights Without Sign Language Rights.
Thank you, Bridget. On the news headlines on SAFM, I am Ondulamban, and a very good day.
To get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Yeah. Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Yeah. Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is is SAFM.
Africa's biggest marketing conference, the Nedbank IMC. One day, 25 top speakers, including 6 global keynotes. And the theme this year is Marketing is Business. And anyone in the business of communication should be there. The conference is taking place on the 18th of September in person in Johannesburg or via online. You can book at www.imcconference.com. Marketing is business.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
All right, it is International Deaf Awareness Month, and we thought we would have a conversation around, sign language. South African Sign Language interpreters Fortune Madlala and Mpotema are joining us in studio. They're busy gossiping on sign. I can see them from the peripheral of my eye that their hands were moving and they were gossiping in sign. And it makes me feel a little bit left out.
That's the beauty of sign
Do you guys just do this all the time?
Yes.
Oh,
We decide if we don't want you to hear us, we just sign.
Oh, stop it.
That's why you have to be multilingual.
Right? I mean, we should be. We should definitely be. Since sign language became the 12th official language in South Africa, 2023, right? Mm-hmm. What impact has that had, especially for those of you in the world of, interpreters? I can imagine it's also opened up broader opportunity.
I think for me, because remember during Nelson Mandela's funeral, we had Janchi, and he was a fake interpreter.
Was that guy?
Yeah. Yes, that guy. Yes,
Yeah.
Tamsanka. So from then up until now, when sign language became the 12th official language, I feel like our profession has been now recognized more professionally, whereas before it would be just that interpreter in the box in the corner, just throwing and gesturing. And if you are Bridget and you have booked an interpreter, as long as I'm doing some kind of gesture, you will be happy. But because of Janchi and also the milestone within the community that sign language has been the 12th official language, we see the recognition towards us as professionals being taken serious as sign language interpreters. We see now even the intake in the universities, a lot of students coming in to study and be professional as an interpreter. I've just currently done my master's, and I'm planning probably to do my PhD in the future, not now, in the near future. Yeah, so we see the growth, and it's beautiful to see. Yeah.
I mean, I just got a message here, which I think this is asked and answered, because it's South African Sign Language. There's no like Tswana sign or Venda sign, which is what the message is. Can one sign in indigenous languages like Venda and Tswana? And no.
Okay, when we're interpreting on telly, we interpreting actually for people who tune in from KZN, Limpopo, Eastern Cape, Northern Cape, and they would all understand us, because sign language is just one South African Sign Language, which incorporates basically all South African languages, so that anyone, whether you are Venda speaking, Xhosa speaking, you would understand, because sign language is just one language, because we have to make sure that it's accessible for all. But there are certain dialects that may differ in provinces, just like in a spoken language in the hearing world. There's certain dialects that we use, there's certain slangs which are used. So those are the differences. But sign language, all in all, is just one South African Sign Language. That's why it's just incorporated.
Okay. Different dialects can be used, but one language. What was the first word that you learned how to sign? There's a sign that I often see when people, I think it's thank you, when people learn how to sign on TV. Can you see I'm trying to remember how it goes? If you're watching us streaming, you can see my left hand is trying to remember how it goes. But there is a sign that when you watch a lot of TV, it seems to be the common one that people learn quickly. Oh, please don't make my hand get embarrassed.
I think beside alphabets, but also to dismiss the myth that sign language is not just your A, B, C, D up to Z, because people, they are thinking, oh well, which means I'll have to speak in alphabets and so on. Absolutely not. It's the same with spoken language. You will first learn your ABC, then learn your basic words like hi, how are you, and then I'm fine, and then for Bridget, thank you, please. Those are the basic signs that you can when you meet a deaf person. But the most important one is sign name, your sign name. because usually sign name, we do have sign names that
Wait,
we
what's the hand doing? How-
sign name.
So
So,
the-
it's on the
so-
face because we identify you by your physical features. For
Okay.
example, we've got sign name for President Ramaphosa. There's his sign name.
Ah!
Then we have Zuma, President Zuma, your prominent people. We also have Malema. I know the President Ramaphosa one, he always makes people to go, already D is going like,
But they know it.
Then we have Malema like that. Remember, he used to be very chubby.
Can I explain this to our listeners that are not live streaming? This is not the day for you not to be live streaming the show. So when the lady said they have the sign for President Ramaphosa, what I refer to as the short text earlier on, they literally indicated to the size of his nose. As you did. Don't act like you didn't.
Yes, Bridget, we did. So with deaf people, the community, fortunately, maybe you'll come in later to say like President Ramaphosa to refer to the nose.
Yes.
So it's something that stands out in his physical features, which
Okay.
would be the nose, and he's quite aware of it. He knows his sign name. That's
Okay.
how the deaf people identify him.
So you would sign, if I understand, Mpo, you would sign if you were talking. Let's say you were talking about President Ramaphosa in the news.
Yes.
If we had to sign it now, like President Ramaphosa visits SABC.
President Ramaphosa.
Okay.
Yes.
So we'll do
President,
the president's sign.
referral to the nose,
Uh-huh.
and then refer to him, and then talk about whatever you're saying.
Okay.
Nothing hidden. Nothing hidden.
So
Nothing
President
hidden.
Ramaphosa is the nose.
Yes.
Jacob Zuma is the bald
The
head.
head there.
Julius
Yes.
Malema is the chubby
The
face.
chubby face. But you
Mandela.
see, even if he no longer have the chubby face, but his sign name, or rather the name that they are using, the community, how they identify him, it still remains.
Chubby.
Yes.
Chubster.
Yes.
I'm here for it. Like I'm not even gonna ask Guti, how do we come to get these colloquial short texts? Like how do we come to decide, Guti, what shorthand is assigned to, or you said
Okay.
distinguishing feature?
Yes, we look at certain features, but we as the hearing people are not the ones who determine the sign names.
Okay.
It's the deaf community. So it's just like any other new terminologies that come about. When we didn't even know coronavirus, what it was, we had to engage with the deaf leaders and the deaf community to give it a certain sign. So even with people's names and people's places and so forth. So we identify certain features like what Mpo has just alluded to. Sometimes it would be maybe your character or something that you mostly do that stands out, like your Caster Semenya, because of the
Yes.
the rubbing off, so that would be the sign name that she would be known for. So they identify certain features or maybe habitual things that you
Yes.
normally do that stands out as an individual, and then it comes about to who you really are. Like, for example, I've got these Imgabo, and there's this specific one here,
Yes.
which is not really Imgabo. That was an accident, and it stood out. And my name starts with an F, so hence it's Fortune.
Oh, okay. So what would my name be? I was still trying to get there. Before we wrap this up, I need to get at least one sign correct. So we were saying my name is, and I'm trying to do the hand gestures properly. So your left hand thumb down, pinky out.
But I'm left-handed. Bridget,
Okay, so
use
which
your
one would it
hand,
be?
your dominant hand.
So it would be my right hand thumb down, pinky out.
So your face, around your face.
With my right.
Yes, with your right.
That's
And then that's a sign name, not your name yet.
Oh, okay.
So
Let's
if-
just say my name.
Sign name,
Uh-huh.
mine. Then they'll give you. We don't have one.
Oh,
we
okay.
can't give you.
Oh, okay.
We can't give
So
you.
then so if I was talking to someone who's deaf, then how would I say Bridget? Would I
You
have
finger
to spell it
your
out?
name. Yeah, you say M.A. because we don't know you yet in the
Yes.
community. So
Okay.
you finger spell your name. Later, when they are comfortable, you are part of the community, then they'll identify something special
Okay.
about you.
Okay.
Some that stands out, as Fortune said. Yeah.
Very interesting. You're imagine spelling Bridget Masinga. Like, I'm still here. Like, and am I going
And
once
you
or
got
twice?
it right. Perfect. You got it
Just
right
once.
once.
Okay, just once.
Wow.
Okay. And then I'll learn the ABCs so that I can sign my name. I can't believe that we are almost out of time. What's the most interesting feedback that you ladies get from the deaf community? And also, I'd love to know, Because, there's always this argument, like we were talking even offline, to say, for instance, if you look at marginalized communities, like the LGBTQI plus community always say, stop getting straight people to act gay when there are gay actors that can authentically act gay. What's the feedback like from the deaf community? Because both of you are speaking folks. Is it negative? Is it positive? Is it mixed? In terms of, well, we are here, we can sign. Why are the two of you who speak signing all the time?
I guess because we are viewed as, we are more like wheelchairs, assistive device, we are interpreters. We can hear, therefore we interpret, which is fine. But I think just one thing to add quickly, Fortune will add to that. I think in terms of the linguistic rights, I know there were a few prominent or famous people that got into trouble on social media. They will be playing around with the language, gesturing or playing with the language. That has become a big issue because for hearing people it's fascinating, right? But then for them, because they're marginalized and they minority group, when you do like that, it's like you're insulting them, you're playing with their language, you're not respecting their language. So it's just something that people should be aware of, to say, don't play with my language, respect my language. The same with our languages that we use. If I come to you and I use your language anyhow, to say you going blah 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 blah. So it's same with them, especially them, because they're the minority group. So something to be careful about.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's just respect.
Yeah.
Respect for individuals, respect for people's cultures and their own identity. As a people, and when you look at me and Mpo, we are there as professionals because we're rendering services, which is the communication gap between the hearing and the deaf people. And that's the only difference. We're not deaf, yes, but then we are the ones who listen to the message so that we can bridge that communication bridge. So when we're interpreting, we're not only interpreting for deaf people, we're also interpreting for hearing people.
Absolutely.
Because when deaf people are in the room and they sign, we have to voice what they're saying.
Yes.
So we're also rendering services to you.
Yes. We've got Utinu Brian. He's interested in learning the language. Brian is a regular listener of the show from Pretoria, Glen. He's just streaming, just crushing with those. I guess he's crushing on your signing. Brian, go learn the language. Where can we go to go learn the language? Do I have to go to varsity? Or are there like other languages? If you want to pick up other languages, there's like language schools and you can go for night school and things like that.
The best way to learn, get involved within the community. And then if you want to do something professionally or become an interpreter, then there are institutions. There's your Wits University, I think Free State also offers,
as well.
And there's various universities where you can learn sign language and then learn interpreting if you want to become an interpreter, because it's like if you want to be an Afrikaans teacher, you have to master the language, which is Afrikaans, which you have to learn Afrikaans, and then you have to master teaching as a profession. So as interpreters, so you also have to master the language, which is sign language, and then you have to learn also the interpreting, which has to do with code of ethics. Like, for example, how I'm dressed today, I cannot go and interpret because I'm too colorful.
You're too distracted.
I'm distracted. Yes, a noise. This is very noisy. It's a noise distortion.
Noise.
Yeah, it's a visual distortion for deaf people. So like how Mpo is dressed, she's dressed appropriately to go and interpret elsewhere because of the setting. So those are the kind of things that you learn when it comes to interpreting the code of ethics, dress code, what the do's and don'ts when it gets to the community. Yeah.
Ladies, thank you so much. It was informative as much as it was just light, and thank you for availing yourselves and for coming through and for schooling us a little bit. I will now go learn the alphabet so I can physically spell out my name. At least I know my name is. Now I just need to physically spell out my name. Thank you so much to the both of you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you,
Yes,
White
and the universal sign, ILU. I love you.
Oh, there we go. We're going to take a quick pause. We'll be right back.
The wait is over. The 2025 and 2026 English Premier League season is here, and the battle for glory.
This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first. Let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first. Let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see?
We shift gears now from the light-hearted to the more serious. We are in conversation with Kim Vermaak, who's an author, speaker, and mindset whisperer. It is Suicide Awareness Month in September, and this afternoon we highlight the hidden struggles of mothers. This baby will be better off without me. These words, though rarely spoken aloud, echo in the hearts of many mothers battling postpartum depression, says Kim Vermaak, our guest today. How are you doing, Kim?
I'm good. And yourself, Bridget?
I'm great. Thank you so much for taking the time. It is September and it is Suicide Prevention Month, and we thought we'd have this conversation and focus a little bit on some of the struggles faced by mothers out there. And suicide is something that we grapple with in society, South Africa being no exception. But then you tack on the stress of postpartum, and that in itself is a conversation that is only now being spoken about freely socially. But it's been something that women have had to deal with secretly for a long time.
That's correct. They have. And, it's not just mothers that struggle with it. Fathers are also struggling with postpartum depression. But with mothers, because in South Africa, approximately 42% of our families are single parent families. And so the ripple effects when it comes to postpartum depression and maternal suicide in a single-headed household or headed family is the ripple effects are massive.
Yeah. And I mean, when we talk about postpartum depression and ultimately how that presents, walk us through that and where do we begin to worry about moms? Because not every depression leads to a suicidal individual, but of course there is a vast number that do.
Correct. And I think one of the bigger things that we need to unpack ahead of time is knowing about triggers. So people who have got any kind of early childhood trauma, they can actually double their chances of getting postpartum depression. And when a woman is in that space where she's marinating in her own thoughts and she's not willing to reach out and get help, that's when it becomes quite dangerous. Because if you've ever known of anyone who has committed suicide, very often the family members say, gosh, but I thought that they were doing so well. I didn't realize there was a problem. They seemed, happy and that kind of thing. And that is what the challenge is. So I would say that the biggest danger is isolation. If you have got a family member and they're starting to withdraw, they're starting to make a lot of excuses about, hanging out with you or doing things, then you need to look a little bit deeper. And I think we also need to be proactive. We can't just go with the thing, oh, I'm fine. No, everything's great. You ask deeper questions. How are you really? How are you sleeping? When last did you eat? I was speaking to a mom who had postpartum depression the other day, and she said to me she went to bed on an empty stomach. And it's not because she's impoverished. It's because she was just so overwhelmed that she didn't make a food for herself. And what we've learned through science is that gut health is incredibly important. Our emotions, our mental health, moves from our gut to our head. So if you are not taking care of yourself, those are big red flags. And this is when your community needs to get involved. They need to say, you know what, maybe it's a single parent. I've noticed they've had a couple of things. Let's just pop over and make an extra portion of food, take it over to the parents to make sure that they are taking care of themselves.
Concerning, as you've highlighted, that suicide remains a leading cause of maternal death, accounting for about 1% of maternal deaths between 2014 and 2016. And globally, it's the leading cause of direct maternal death between 6 weeks and 12 months postpartum. And you yourself have shared your own personal experience with postpartum depression with all three of your children.
That's correct. The first one was the most terrifying because I was alone. So I was a single parent staying in a one-bedroom apartment, and I had these really, really dark thoughts. Luckily, I had been to prenatal classes, and I had a checklist that I can go through. But in that particular time, it felt devastating for me. And if I'm honest, the mental health issue came from way back when. I've had two family members, one used to threaten suicide and another one who attempted suicide 5 times. I always say there must be like God's calling on that person's life, because why they were not successful after 5 attempts, I actually don't know. But it did mean that that going into my pregnancy, my level of coping skills were quite absent. So I had started going to courses, I'd been to counseling ahead of time, because I realized I'd been making some very damaging relationship choices, and I was kind of stuck in that cycle. And if I hadn't have done that, if I hadn't have reached out about my mental health ahead of my pregnancy, I probably wouldn't have reached out. I might have formed part of those statistics. But when you wake up in the middle of the night and your baby is crying so much, and you have a vision of drowning that child just to stop it from crying, then you know that's a serious, serious thing. And I believe that sometimes our faith-based communities, as wonderful as they are, they don't always have the expertise to say things beyond like, oh, just pray about it and you're strong and it will be fine, because actually it's not. You need something deeper than that.
And oftentimes, Kim, oftentimes parents, moms and dads will conceal what they're struggling with and hide behind, smiles and this whole thing, as you said, of saying, I'm okay. And I guess it can be because of society and the stigmas that we place on mental health. For some folks, it can be a bit scary to articulate that they are not coping and that they are having, these terrible dark thoughts of self-harm or even harm to their babies.
That's correct. What we found out is that if you're having an unplanned pregnancy, you have a double the risk chance of getting postpartum. And so what I did is I wrote a journal, which is on my website, which is kimformark.com, and it's a free journal that women can download when they are facing an unplanned pregnancy, because then all of those triggers come through. For me, because I was adopted, I always had in the back of my mind the worry that maybe someone would take my baby away from me. It's a real thing. And then sometimes what happens is we don't take action at all because we're so afraid of that thing. But when we're afraid of it, it can come to pass. And so sometimes you've got to say to yourself, okay, I'm worried that someone would think I'm a bad mom. But what if I actually go for counseling? What if I phone a lifeline or the South African Depression, Anxiety and Depression group? What if I phone them and get free counseling? What if I go to my church and say, like, I might be coming here and smiling, but I'm really, really not coping? Or go to the lady next door and tell her, this is what I'm feeling. Because people want to help, but they're afraid of being intrusive. They're afraid that, they're meddling in your affairs and that kind of thing. But if you do reach out for help and you've got an action plan, it can change.
Absolutely. As I'm talking to you now, I'm just thinking about the fact that being a new mom, there's so much that changes in your environment, right? When you think about that last trimester of pregnancy, how already you're sleep deprived, you're tired, you're mostly, dealing with a whole bunch of other ailments, BP and everything else that is at play at that time, feeling like a stranger in your own body. And then you bring in this little human into your life that completely disrupts your life. You continue again being sleep deprived, overextending yourself, giving so much of yourself to this person. Even mothers and dads who are, quote unquote, really doing okay, but are just buckling under the pressure. There is a lot of pressure that comes with that time. So when you really emotionally are not at a place of balance, it's very important for you to reach out and get the necessary help.
Correct. And there's so many people that can do amazing and just very simple things. So if you've got a family member that can cook extra meals and just say, let's put it into the freezer, or we will come over, once a day and drop those off. I mean, what people don't think about is when you're a mom, that little perineum piece of skin that's between the vagina and the anus, that gets terribly bruised, and sometimes it tears during birth. And when you have a cesarean, it's someone cutting through the muscle of your body. So just a thing like, I want to go to the toilet, you're too scared to push because the stitches can be torn. And basically your body has been traumatized, and it's going to take weeks for it to get better. And then just as that starts getting a little bit better, then you get slapped with, I've got to go back to work now. So those kinds of things are just massive, massive shifts that we've got to deal with. And because our worlds are isolated, our parents now live in different provinces. How many times have you heard someone saying, I'm going back home, and then you ask, where is home? I'm working in Gauteng, but my parents live in the Eastern Cape, or they're in Limpopo, or that kind of thing. And so we are bringing our children up in a far more isolated environment than before. Just this week I was chatting to a guy. He said they went away with the baby because culturally they needed to take the baby to their family within a certain time period. And he said, and then when they came back, that baby didn't sleep properly for 2 weeks because now the child is unsettled, out of its routine, those kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a lot indeed. And just a quick apology to our more sensitive listeners if you weren't expecting the sensitivities of this conversation. But Kim, in the last 30 minutes, or rather 30 seconds of our conversation, how do we intervene? What resource can mothers who are listening, who are struggling right now, what resource can they use?
Okay. Well, firstly, my Tammy the Monster book is only going to come out in about 2 months' time, so I can't help you with that. But if they are facing an unplanned pregnancy, I would go onto the website, I would download the resources, and then have a look at if your company has got a breastfeeding support plan. So our government actually has got a plan for how companies are supposed to help women through breastfeeding support. Find out if you can potentially work from a hybrid situation. And unfortunately, we have to drive that. We can't completely rely on companies to do that.
Yeah.
Speak to your faith-based community, see if they've got a counseling department, or contact one of the free resources where they can give you counseling, but don't let it lie.
Absolutely.
It could be that today is not the right day. Tomorrow there might be someone else that will be able to help you, but keep pushing.
Kim, we appreciate the time with you. That was Kim Vermaak, author and speaker and mindset whisperer. If you are a mom that is struggling right now with some kind of suicidal thinking or dark thoughts, please do reach out even to the South African Anxiety and Depression organization, and they will help you. And you can even reach out to us, and we'll try and put you in contact with the right people. It's time for us to catch up with the news.
Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday.
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
It's such a vibey song for Monday afternoon, right? A little bit of old school groove. Letambula coming through with Nomalizo. And we played the song because, in part, you might want to rewind back to the conversation she was having with KG yesterday. She was visiting KG on Seasons. And if you see all the visuals online, a time was had, I tell you, a time was had in studio. So you can go to safm.co.za and have a look at that podcast as we build up to the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz. We've been honoring Mom Letambulo for the last couple of weeks now as part of that extended programming from the Joy of Jazz. Nomalizo, beautiful song coming through. It's approaching 2:15 on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga, right here on SAFM. We are going to be catching up with Lerato Mlambo now and talking cryptocurrency. And Lerato is a cryptocurrency expert at Luno. How does it work? And how do we stay safe, particularly from all the scams? That is coming up.
This year, the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival presents 3.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first.
One day, 25 top speakers, including 6 global keynotes. And the theme this year is Marketing is Business, and anyone in the business of communication should be there. The conference is taking place on the 18th of September in person right here in Johannesburg, or you can log in online. Book now at www.imcconference.com. Marketing is Business.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
All right, we are catching up with Lerato Mlambo now, who's a cryptocurrency expert at Luno. And crypto has grown from a niche concept into a global financial phenomenon. And at its core, cryptocurrency is a digital form of money that operates on a blockchain technology. And this is still a conversation where I'm very much a duck out of water. How are you doing, Lerato?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for the time. I mean, we hear cryptocurrency, crypto, blockchains, all these terminologies, but for a lot of us, this is still very much a foreign concept, foreign lingo, foreign concept, and maybe it's just an indicator of how slow we are to turn with the times. But let's take it back to the basics of basics. What is cryptocurrency?
Yes, so cryptocurrency can be defined as a digital asset on the blockchain that can be used for either investments or transactional purposes. So you can buy it, you can sell it, you can store, you can trade, and even make payments of it with it. So the most popular cryptocurrency right now is Bitcoin, which comes into existence around 2008. And to date, there are a few others that have come into existence other than Bitcoin, such as Ethereum and Ripple and Cardano. So there's like, I think, over 20,000 active cryptocurrencies right now, which means that there's a lot of growth and innovation within this space.
Okay, so you say a digital asset on a blockchain and we can use to buy, store, and trade. Again, jargon to, the layman like myself that still makes very little sense, because when we talk blockchain technology, in order for us to understand this digital asset and how it functions on this blockchain, we also need to then understand the blockchain technology behind it, right?
100%. So even the idea of digital money itself has been around for decades, but the differentiating thing is that for some time it required central control. So either a central authority like a bank or a government to facilitate the financial system. So Bitcoin then becomes the first and well-known cryptocurrency using this game-changing technology that we refer to as a blockchain, which is the simple way of thinking about the blockchain is an online ledger that is connected to the internet, which ensures that transactions are secure, transparent, and they don't rely on a bank or government. Now, this transparency is important in the financial system because it allows anyone to have access to what is happening in terms of the financial system. And because the blockchain is decentralized, right, it makes it immutable. So people can't log in and change the record. So if there was X amount of funds in that particular wallet, it remains as such without any person being able to control or change those transactions. So in this way, Bitcoin is almost unlike anything we've seen before. And a better way of thinking about it is around thinking about familiar concepts, right? So crypto represents a digital first approach to money, which combines technology, investments, and financial independence in a very exciting and accessible way. You will remember that in the past, communications had to involve from like writing each other notes to being able to send each other emails to now this instant messaging that we have. So if you think of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in that same way, you will then realize that we are still in the very early stages of maturity. So that is why a lot of people still don't know what it is and what it's about, because it's a new technology that people are still learning.
And as new as it is, though, it seems to have found traction and the community internationally, right? A lot of people are very much attracted to the concept of cryptocurrency, particularly Bitcoin as the sort of, I guess, the earlier interpretation or the first interpretation of it. And oftentimes people talk about the freedom that comes with this borderless money. Talk to us about that as well, because what are the advantages to using things like Bitcoin, to being involved in crypto, that perhaps traditional financial systems don't really allow or afford one?
Yes, so crypto assets like Bitcoin do allow us to reimagine the financial system, right, by upgrading the world to something even better, one that is more inclusive and more efficient. And the second benefit to that is crypto is available to buy or sell 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So unlike regular stock markets that have an opening bell and a closing time, cryptocurrency markets are constantly available to buy, sell, and trade within. Also, transactions are very, very easy and fast and almost instant. And critically, what sometimes people misunderstand is that you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. So you can buy a fraction of it. And it's usually very fast and easy to sell as well, unlike regular traditional investments. The other important thing about cryptocurrencies is that companies like ourselves at Luno have made it even simpler for customers or investors to do everything by themselves, unlike other types of investments which would need a lot of advice and a lot of interaction with other experts. And also because finally the price of Bitcoin in rand terms has increased remarkably in the past couple of years alone. I think when I checked this weekend, it was tracking at something like a whole Bitcoin trading over 2 million rands. And if you were to just check a couple of years ago, this wasn't the case. So in that volatility, while it could lead to significant losses, there have been over years significant gains for a lot of investors within cryptocurrency.
Did you say a whole Bitcoin is trading at over 2 million rand?
I believe so. I stand to be corrected because the market is so volatile. But when I did have a look this weekend, it was something like that.
Very interesting. Okay, and I want to get to some questions from our listeners that are on WhatsApp. But before I go there, how do we get started? How does a person get started with crypto? Because now you tell us that a whole Bitcoin is trading at over 2 million rand. Then my imagination goes, perhaps I should get into Bitcoins. But I don't even know when Lerato makes reference to a whole Bitcoin. Does that imply I can buy 1% of a Bitcoin, 10% of a Bitcoin versus 100% of a Bitcoin? Because I just thought a Bitcoin is a whole thing that you buy, like you're buying a whole 1 cent.
I'm glad we're having this discussion because that's a very good question. So while a whole Bitcoin can cost that much in its absolute form, you can buy fractions of it from as little as 100 Rand using platforms like ourselves at Luno. But before we get into getting started and getting excited about investing, we believe at Luno that education is key to customer protection and enabling good investor journeys through crypto. First, I want to implore listeners to educate themselves about the basics. So create an account with a reputable local exchange such as Luno. And when I say reputable, I mean that we are regulated and licensed through the Financial Sector Conduct Authority. And crypto is regulated in South Africa. So before getting started, just make sure that you're using a reputable platform. And maybe we can go into this further. So at Luno, for example, it takes less than 5 minutes to get started. You simply download our app, where we will prompt you to verify your identity through a selfie, your identity document, and possibly even a proof of address. This is essential to us as a financial institution that is regulated to comply with South African laws and to go through KYC with all our customers. And once your Luno account has been verified and we know that we're dealing with the person at the other end of the account, you can then simply transfer your South African rands from your bank account into your Luno account, where you can buy Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies from as little as 100 Rand. So buying is simple, and we've also made it so simple to interact between the current financial system and the cryptocurrency financial system, interacting between your bank and your Luno account.
Yeah.
What's essentially important as well is most people go with cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin as Ethereum for their first investments. So you must always, in terms of protecting yourself online though, you must use strong, unique passwords for your crypto and enable security measures like two-factor authentication for safety and for security. And I think these are some of the key messages I want to drive that platforms like ourselves at Luno have made it so simple, incredibly simple for investors to get started on their own without needing financial advisors or needing traders on their behalf.
I just want to play one query here, Lerato, before we run out of time, see if we can answer.
Afternoon, the SAFM. My name is Tando, the Eastern Cape, Ngaleni, Ramtata. Now I want to ask that to the Lunar people, the Lunar Air people, why do they cost so much on charges, what is called dust? There's a money that is called dust funds there when you deposit. It does not reflect if you deposit a money which is less than $5. They will call it a dust. But it's in my actual money and I wanted to use that money really badly, man. So why are they costing that much?
Lerato, we've got very limited time, just a matter of a minute or two. Are you able to tend to that?
Yes, I think without knowing too specifically the specific details of their account, in the blockchain space, it is common to have certain transactions or certain amounts labeled as dust amount, which means they are either too insignificant in terms of protecting the blockchain network. And often attackers of the blockchain would use those kinds of amounts to kind of launch intricate attacks on the blockchain network. So as one of the security measures, I think platforms that interact with blockchain services and offer crypto financial services would have those kind of measures in place to protect themselves against dust attacks, which can be highly technical, maybe for a lot of people to understand.
Just our final point, literally in a minute, how do people identify credible and licensed crypto providers?
This is a very good question, and one of them is that you will log into their digital platforms and they will have always very prominently on their website their licensing number, which you can also use to check on the Financial Sector Conduct Authority's website to see if that exchange or that platform is regulated. But I just want to run you through quickly some of the red flags that we've seen. So promises of guaranteed returns or get-rich-quick schemes, pressures to invest immediately or take urgent action. So they don't even have like proper contact information for customer support. And when you look online for their reviews, they're quite poor and they have no verifiable track record. And also when they operate with some murkiness in terms of compliance and regulation. And what we've also seen is like these dodgy platforms will also request specifically access into your personal banking details or your accounts beyond the standard KYC requirements, which is just an overkill in terms of providing the kind of service that we provide. So start with very small amounts, educate yourself, and use these platforms that are transparent about their operations and in a muddy situation when it comes to regulation and compliance.
Awesome. Lerato, thank you so much for the advice. And I think a lot of people probably learned a little bit more from this conversation around crypto. That was Lerato Mlambo, cryptocurrency expert at Luno. So just the last points there about safety, keeping yourself safe. Be sure to double back and make sure that you're dealing with a credible, authorized entity if you're going to be dealing in cryptocurrency. It's gone 2:30. Ondele standing by with the headline news, and then we're going to get into kids programming.
Let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people?
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo
in the Netball World Youth Cup 2025 in Gibraltar from the 19th until the 28th of September 2025. These are our rising stars. Hashtag Together We Rise, brought to you by the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
All right, as we wrap up the conversation, we are catching up now with Kanya Shipalana, co-founder of Moropa Site Solutions, and we're having a conversation around poor network connectivity that's stifling women entrepreneurs in rural South Africa. And this poor connectivity is leaving many women entrepreneurs vulnerable in emergencies and left behind in the digital economy. How are you doing, Kanya?
Hi, Bridget. I'm good, thank you.
Thank you so much for the time. Much appreciated. We oftentimes have various conversations around women entrepreneurs and particularly women in flung out areas of South Africa. But we've never really had a focus on, just connectivity issues and how poor network signals within these rural communities can affect women adversely, especially women entrepreneurs.
That is correct. So I think we actually underestimate that having poor connectivity is really an issue. I am sure, like yourself, live in an urban area, so you can use your phone at your will and you hardly have any issues. I think the last time I remember having issues of network was probably during load shedding when cell phone towers had problems. Most of them maybe not having batteries or the batteries couldn't charge up. But for rural women living in rural areas, this is like their daily struggle, Sometimes people have to drive for kilometers for them to even get to a point where they can make a phone call, let alone being able to run a business.
And the truth is that, running a business in 2025 requires one to have digital connectivity, requires one to have communication connectivity. We're not talking about a luxury here, but we're talking about a basic of doing modern business.
That's correct. Yeah. So, look, I think one of the key things that maybe a lot of people, including myself, prior to going into the telecoms industry, was understanding how we get to make phone calls. It's not just the case of using a phone and then you all of a sudden are connected. So there's infrastructure that goes that people need to put up. In the past, it was predominantly the mobile network operators. And more recently, companies like myself or my company, we put up the cell phone masts. So I think a lot of people pass them maybe not knowing what they do, but basically the infrastructure, which is the cell phone tower, is more like a building, and it gives coverage. So then what happens is that the mobile network operators then put their equipment at the top part of the mast, and that propagates signal, and cell phone towers then talk to each other, which allows us to then communicate when we make a phone call.
Let's paint a picture about the lived experience of the women that we are talking about within these rural communities, and their inability to operate optimally in their businesses, right? I mean, on the one hand, it takes quite a bit to even just start a business. And then having the ability to optimize and operate at the highest level when you are faced with all these challenges, that presents a whole set of burdens for women in these communities.
Yes. So, look, when because I try and go out into different parts of the rural areas, especially because I have to create relationships with my landlords. So I get to really interact one-on-one with a lot of the women and understand what their challenges are. And I mean, depending on the sectors that they're in, they would obviously be impacted. For example, in tourism, we find that sometimes a woman would like to start a sort of Airbnb or some sort of tourist destination. But the issue is that, as most people would do when they're trying to book, they would go online and try and make an online booking or phone the venue to try and make a reservation or find out if you could, whether there's availability. But with the challenges of no network, generally the proprietor doesn't even get access to emails. So they might have created this nice website, but then, when there's no network, you're not even able to get the bookings. So that's one of the challenges. Then when they maybe do get the bookings through, the network could be sporadic, and maybe the response then to the customers is quite late. So you then either lose your customer or they're upset because maybe they're thinking you're a delinquent proprietor. So that would be, I would say, in the tourism sector. Then you also have like in the farming sector, because also that's also in rural, where farmers maybe don't have access to markets, other than their local vicinity. But if they want to grow and sell to other markets, whether it be in another province or elsewhere, it's easier for them if they're able to have an online store. And one can then order and get whatever goods delivered to them. But with now access to all the network issues prevailing in some areas, this actually is an inhibitor for those people.
Yeah.
So, from just those two sectors alone can be a challenge. And then when sometimes you find that there's also security issues, especially in rural areas, properties are quite far from each other. So if there's any emergency or you need to call someone for help, generally when there is no network, then you have a problem because you can't get through to anyone on the other line to assist you. So those are some of the other challenges that women in rural areas are confronted with.
Where do we begin, Kanya, to sort of turn the situation around? I mean, you speak of the infrastructure perhaps being at the base of this, or building the infrastructure being at the base of this.
So I think, first of all, one of the challenges we are faced with in our industry I'm a small business. I've been in the business for quite a number of years now, other than the challenges that most businesses struggle with, which is access to capital. But the other issue would be red tape. So when you put up a cell phone tower, it's not just a case of going to a vacant spot and just putting up this tower. There's a whole lot of processes that you go through, and different stakeholders and government departments where we need to get approvals. So the challenge in some cases is maybe a department doesn't get back to you, or they change their rules. So those are things that then mean instead of it taking an average of 12 months to get the permitting done, it can even double or even take longer for us to get the permitting. And unfortunately, without the permits, we can't actually put up the structure, and that actually ends up impacting the community as a result because they don't get the communication. Yeah.
I mean, you said that the signal is just reliable enough to hope, but never reliable enough to build on, and that's a very bleak sort of perception, right? It's a big, because then it almost disheartens women in the rural communities to start up anything if their lived reality is that, well, I could start it, but it's never really going to get to where it's supposed to get to because the infrastructure is against me in this situation.
Yeah, look, it is really a challenge. What I've done in some areas where I know there have been challenges, I've actually asked the community to rally together and maybe, get their voices heard to the mobile network operators so that they can see that there is a community of people here that do need the infrastructure, and just really try motivate to get that assistance, because South Africa is quite a big place. So if sometimes you might find that people are not aware that their area is not really known. So it does help to speak up and, try and get that attention of people. So that's what we also try and do on our side. If we're putting up maybe a cell phone tower at this area, remember with the cell phone tower, it also covers a certain radius.
Yeah.
So depending on the equipment that the mobile network operator puts up there, it could cover 5 kilometers. And then maybe there's a gap between that cell phone tower and the next where the next cell phone tower is. In that area, there might not be signal. So maybe that community sees us, and then we then explain to them this is the process they should try to follow to try and get the attention of your mobile network operators, because we also work with the mobile network operators quite closely in order to get the signal to the people.
Yeah, I mean, you've definitely given us something to think about, and I think particularly our listeners within, rural communities dotted around South Africa. Thank you so much for the time this afternoon. That was Kanya Shipalani, co-founder of Moropo Site Solutions. It's just a matter of moments to go before the top of the hour. We're going to sign off from our end, making room for Ashraf and his team to come through. Of course, Andela's coming through with the news, wrapping up the afternoon at 3 o'clock on the dot. The muffins, umsebenzi wendoda, is how we say goodbye to you.
Try yesterday.
Oh, 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 oh.
is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.